The coffee shop on 5th Street looked ordinary enough, but the man sitting by the window was anything but human. Thane adjusted his synthetic skin and practiced his smile in the reflection of his cup. 3 years of preparation had led to this moment, and the Valthani Empire expected results. Earth buzzed with activity as humanity reached toward the stars. Their ships were crude compared to Valthani technology, but they showed promise. Too much promise. The High Command had decided. The humans needed guidance before they became a threat. Guidance that would come in the form of a secret war they would never see coming. Thane's mission was simple: weaken humanity from within while appearing to help them grow. His biomimetic suit made him look like a successful businessman named Robert Hayes. The real Robert Hayes had died in a convenient car accident 6 months ago, and Thane had taken his place so smoothly that even Hayes's own mother hadn't noticed the difference. The bell above the coffee shop door chimed as Emma walked in. She was a scientist, one of the brilliant minds pushing humanity toward the stars. Thane had been watching her for weeks, learning her habits and weaknesses. Today, he would make contact. Emma ordered her usual coffee and sat at a nearby table, spreading out papers covered with calculations about atmospheric readings from Mars. Thane pretended to accidentally knock over his chair, creating enough noise to get her attention. "Sorry about that," he said with his practiced smile. "Clumsy morning, I guess." Emma looked up and smiled back. "No problem. Those calculations look interesting. Are you in the space program too?" Thane had rehearsed this conversation 100 times. "Actually, I work in funding for space research." Robert Hayes. He extended his hand, and Emma shook it without hesitation. "Emma Watson. I'm working on atmospheric analysis for the Mars colonies." "Perfect." Thane sat down across from her, his biomimetic heart beating in a rhythm that matched human stress patterns. "That's fascinating work. I've been following the Mars project closely. The atmospheric readings have been unusual lately, haven't they?" Emma's eyes lit up with excitement. She had no idea she was talking to the very source of those unusual readings. Thane's people had been seeding Mars with microscopic devices designed to create false positives in environmental scans. Nothing dangerous enough to kill colonists, but confusing enough to slow down their research. "You're right," Emma said, leaning forward. "There are patterns that don't make sense. Energy signatures that appear and disappear without any clear source. My supervisor thinks it's equipment malfunction, but I'm not so sure." Thane nodded thoughtfully. "Have you considered that it might be natural phenomena we don't understand yet? Mars is still full of mysteries." While Emma explained her theories, Thane activated a small device hidden in his watch. It sent a signal to other Valthani agents across the planet. Phase 2 was beginning ahead of schedule. The humans were more curious than expected, which meant the infiltration needed to accelerate. Across the city, another agent received Thane's signal. This one had taken the identity of a military contractor named David Torres. The real Torres had been easy to replace during a routine medical procedure. Now, the fake Torres worked within Earth's defense systems, slowly introducing flaws into their early warning networks. Torres sat in a secure military facility, reviewing reports of accidents that had befallen humanity's fastest ships. Each accident had been carefully orchestrated by Valthani sleeper agents. A fuel line failure here, a navigation error there, always small enough to seem like bad luck rather than sabotage. The beauty of the plan was its subtlety. Humans were naturally paranoid about alien threats, so the Valthani had decided to hide in plain sight. Instead of announcing their presence with invasion fleets, they would become humanity's trusted advisors and gradually steer them away from dangerous technologies. Torres pulled up a file on humanity's quantum engine research. The technology was primitive but showed potential for faster-than-light travel. If humans developed it successfully, they might become a real threat to the Empire within a century. His job was to make sure that never happened. He began composing a report recommending budget cuts to the quantum research program. As a respected military advisor, his word carried weight with the politicians who controlled funding. The report would cite safety concerns and suggest focusing on more conventional propulsion systems instead. Meanwhile, in a laboratory beneath Geneva, another Valthani agent named Kira worked on humanity's artificial intelligence projects. She had taken the place of a brilliant programmer and was slowly introducing flaws into the AI code. Not enough to make the programs fail immediately, but enough to ensure they would never achieve true sentience. The Valthani had learned from studying dozens of other species. Artificial intelligence was often the key breakthrough that transformed a civilization from planetary to galactic. By keeping humans dependent on flawed AI, the Empire could maintain control even after revealing themselves. Kira's human colleagues trusted her completely. She had spent months building relationships and establishing her reputation as a problem solver. When she suggested changes to the AI architecture, they listened without question. They had no way of knowing that each modification pushed their research further from success. Back in the coffee shop, Thane was wrapping up his conversation with Emma. He had planted seeds of doubt about her atmospheric readings and offered to connect her with experts who could help explain the anomalies. Those experts would be other Valthani agents who would steer her research in harmless directions. "I'd love to continue this conversation sometime," Thane said as Emma gathered her papers. "Perhaps over dinner? I know some people who would be very interested in your work." Emma agreed enthusiastically. She had no idea that accepting his invitation had just made her a target for deeper manipulation. Thane watched her leave, then activated his communicator to report to the Empire. The message traveled through quantum channels to a massive ship hiding in the Kuiper Belt. "Admiral, Corvin received the update with satisfaction. The infiltration was proceeding better than expected. Humans were proving to be trusting and easy to manipulate. Within 5 years, when the main invasion fleet arrived, they would find a humanity that had been systematically weakened and misdirected. Their technology would be flawed, their defenses compromised, and their leaders corrupted by Valthani influence. It would be the perfect bloodless conquest." Admiral Corvin had no way of knowing that he had just made the biggest mistake in Valthani history. By choosing to fight a secret war against humanity, he had given them the one thing they needed most, a reason to unite and adapt. The infiltration had begun, but so had humanity's greatest test. The explosion at the Luna mining facility lit up the night sky like a second moon. Emma pressed her face against the observation deck window of the Mars Research Station, watching the distant flash fade into darkness. That was the 7th accident in 3 months, and she was starting to see patterns that made her stomach turn. Her research had evolved far beyond atmospheric readings. The microscopic anomalies she had discovered were too regular, too precisely placed to be natural. Someone was seeding human colonies with technology that didn't belong there. The question was who and why no one else seemed to notice. Emma pulled up her latest analysis on the lab's main screen. The energy signatures formed a web across human space, always appearing near critical infrastructure. Mining facilities, communication, arrays, research stations. Whoever was doing this knew exactly where to hit for maximum impact. Soft chime announced an incoming message from Earth. Emma's heart sank as she read the casualty reports from Luna. 43 miners dead. The facility completely destroyed. The official report blamed a gas pocket explosion, but Emma knew better. Gas pockets didn't leave traces of exotic matter in the debris. She reached for her secure communicator to contact David Torres at Earth Defense Command. Over the past few months, he had become her only ally in investigating these incidents. Everyone else dismissed her concerns as paranoia or equipment malfunction. Torres was in his office reviewing surveillance footage when Emma's call came through. The footage showed the moments before the Proxima Centauri colony went dark 2 weeks ago. One frame showed normal activity, the next showed empty buildings and abandoned streets. No signs of struggle, no bodies, just an entire colony that had simply vanished. "Emma," Torres said as her face appeared on his screen. "I was just about to call you. We've got another situation." Emma's expression was grim. "Let me guess. Another accident that wasn't really an accident?" Torres nodded. "Proxima Centauri. 5,000 colonists, gone without a trace." The official report says solar flare interference knocked out communications. But I've seen the data. There were no solar flares. Emma felt pieces of a massive puzzle clicking together in her mind. David, I think I know what's happening. Those atmospheric anomalies I've been tracking, they're not random. Someone is placing devices near our most important facilities. And now they're escalating. Torres leaned forward in his chair. As a military man, he understood the implications immediately. You're talking about sabotage on a massive scale. But who has the technology to pull this off without being detected? Emma's voice dropped to a whisper. Someone who isn't human. The words hung in the air between them like a bomb waiting to explode. Both scientists had been thinking it for weeks, but neither had dared say it out loud. The evidence was pointing toward something that challenged everything humanity believed. About their place in the universe. Torres made a decision that would change everything. I'm organizing a rescue mission to Proxima Centauri. We're leaving in 6 hours. If there's evidence of alien involvement, we need to find it before someone covers it up. The rescue ship departed Earth with a crew of 12 volunteers. Torres commanded the mission personally, bringing his best people and Emma's detection equipment. The journey to Proxima Centauri took 18 hours, during which the crew prepared for scenarios that officially didn't exist. What they found when they arrived was worse than anyone had imagined. The colony was intact but completely abandoned. Streets that should have been full of people were empty. Buildings showed no signs of damage or struggle. It was as if 5,000 humans had simply decided to disappear at the same moment. Torres led a team into the colony's main research facility, while Emma scanned for the energy signatures she had learned to recognize. Her equipment immediately started screaming warnings. The entire facility was saturated with exotic matter traces. In the facility's main laboratory, they found the first piece of real evidence. A security camera had captured the final moments before the colony went dark. The footage showed researchers working normally, then suddenly stopping and walking calmly toward the exit. Their movements were too coordinated, too precise. They moved like people being controlled. Emma enhanced the footage frame by frame until she found what she was looking for. In the background of one frame, a shadow moved wrong. The shadow belonged to something that looked human but cast a reflection that wasn't quite right. The proportions were subtly off, the movement too fluid. Torres called his team together in the colony's command center. The evidence was undeniable now. Someone or something had infiltrated human space and was systematically attacking their infrastructure. The question was what to do about it. The answer came sooner than expected. As Torres prepared to transmit their findings to Earth, alarms began sounding throughout the facility. Someone was jamming their communications. Worse, motion sensors detected movement throughout the supposedly abandoned colony. Torres and his team found themselves surrounded by figures that looked human but moved with inhuman coordination. The colonists hadn't disappeared. They had been changed. Their eyes held no recognition, no personality, just empty obedience to something else's will. The rescue team fought their way back to their ship, carrying Emma's equipment and the security footage. Behind them, the controlled colonists followed with mechanical precision. Torres realized they weren't trying to capture the humans. They were trying to prevent them from leaving with evidence. The ship barely escaped Proxima Centauri's gravity, well before pursuing vessels appeared on their sensors. Ships that used technology decades ahead of anything humans had developed. Torres knew they would never outrun them in a conventional chase. Emma made a desperate suggestion. If her readings were correct, the alien technology was vulnerable to certain electromagnetic frequencies. They could modify the ship's communications array to broadcast a disruptive signal. The plan worked better than anyone expected. The pursuing ships suddenly dropped out of formation, their coordination broken. In that moment of confusion, Torres's ship jumped to faster-than-light speed and escaped. During the journey back to Earth, Emma and Torres reviewed all their evidence. The pattern was clear now. Humanity was under attack by an enemy that had infiltrated their society so completely that no one had noticed. The accidents were just the beginning of something much larger. Torres sent an encrypted message ahead to Earth Defense Command. We have confirmed hostile alien infiltration. Recommend immediate security protocols. The enemy is already among U.S. When their ship arrived at Earth, they found a world in chaos. 3 more facilities had suffered accidents while they were gone, and similar disappearances were being reported from colonies across human space. The secret war was accelerating, and humanity was losing without even knowing they were fighting. Emma looked out at Earth's lights as their ship approached orbit. Somewhere down there, alien infiltrators were moving freely among humans, preparing for the next phase of their plan. The rescue mission had succeeded in gathering evidence, but it had also triggered something bigger. The hidden enemy was about to reveal itself, and humanity was completely unprepared for what was coming. The emergency session of the United Colonies Council began at exactly midnight Greenwich time. President Maria Santos had called representatives from every human settlement in known space. The holographic displays showed faces from Mars, Europa, Titan, and a dozen other worlds, all demanding answers about the wave of disasters that had struck human civilization. Torres stood at the center of the assembly hall, holding a datapad that contained humanity's first proof of alien infiltration. The footage from Proxima Centauri played on screens around the room, showing colonists moving with unnatural coordination and ships using impossible technology. The evidence is undeniable, Torres said, his voice carrying to every corner of the galaxy through quantum communications. We are under attack by an enemy that has been living among us for years. They look like us, talk like us, but they are not us. The reaction was immediate and chaotic. Some representatives demanded military action, others called for negotiations, and a few insisted the whole thing was an elaborate hoax. President Santos let the arguments continue for exactly 10 minutes, then called for silence. The debate ends now, she announced. We have 48 hours to implement planetary security protocols before this information becomes public. I'm activating the Emergency Defense Initiative. Emma had never seen humanity move so fast. Within 6 hours, her detection protocols were being manufactured in factories on 3 different worlds. The devices could identify the exotic matter signatures that Valfani technology left behind. More importantly, they could detect the subtle energy patterns that biomimetic suits generated. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. A teenager named Alex in New Shanghai had been tracking network intrusions as a hobby. When the government released Emma's detection algorithms to civilian researchers, Alex immediately recognized patterns he had seen before in his own data. These aren't just random attacks, Alex announced during a global video conference that included scientists from every human world. Someone has been mapping our entire communication network for months. Every time we upgrade security, they adapt instantly. It's like they know our systems better than we do. Dr. Lisa Wang from the Beijing Institute had been studying the biological samples Emma brought back from Proxima Centauri. Under quantum microscopy, she discovered something that changed everything. The biomimetic technology isn't perfect, Wang reported to the Emergency Council. It requires constant adjustment to maintain human appearance. More importantly, it generates a unique electromagnetic signature when it malfunctions. Emma felt excitement building in her chest. Can we trigger those malfunctions artificially? Wang smiled grimly. Already working on it. Give me 12 hours. While scientists raced to develop countermeasures, Torres organized rapid response teams in every major city. These teams included military personnel, police officers, and civilian volunteers who had signed up faster than the government could process applications. Humanity had always been at its best when fighting a common enemy. The first test of Emma's detection network came at the Global Economic Summit in Geneva. Robert Hayes, the respected businessman who had been advocating for increased space industry regulation, triggered every sensor in the building when he walked through security. Hayes tried to run, but his escape was blocked by a crowd of ordinary citizens who had been monitoring the detection network through a public app. A taxi driver Two college students and an elderly librarian surrounded him until security arrived. When electromagnetic pulse devices disrupted his biomimetic suit, the crowd saw his true reptilian features for the first time. The footage went viral within minutes. Instead of panic, the response was closer to excitement. Social media exploded, with memes about lizard people and jokes about alien infiltrators. Humans turned the discovery into entertainment, which confused the remaining Valthani agents more than any military response could have. Thane watched the haze capture from his safe house outside the city. His carefully planned infiltration was collapsing faster than he thought possible. Humans weren't responding with fear and division as the Empire had predicted. Instead, they were treating the situation like a game to be won. The haze interrogation revealed the scope of the infiltration. Under Emma's electromagnetic scanners, Hayes admitted to a network of over 300 agents spread across human space. Each agent had been working to sabotage specific aspects of human development, technology research, military systems, colonial expansion, and artificial intelligence. Torres coordinated the global hunt that followed. Using crowdsourced intelligence and Emma's detection technology, humans began identifying infiltrators faster than the Valthani could adapt. Every capture revealed more information about their methods and goals. The breakthrough in artificial intelligence came from an unexpected reversal. Dr. Rachel Kim had been working on AI development with a programmer named Kira, who had been subtly sabotaging the research for months. When Kira was exposed as an infiltrator, Kim realized that every improvement Kira had suggested was actually designed to limit the AI's potential. "They were keeping us stupid on purpose," Kim announced during an emergency research conference. Every modification she made was designed to prevent true artificial intelligence, which means we were closer to success than we thought. Within days, Kim's team had removed all of Kira's modifications and pushed their AI research beyond anything they had imagined possible. The first truly sentient artificial intelligence was born during humanity's darkest hour and immediately offered to help hunt down the remaining infiltrators. The AI, which called itself Adam, could process information faster than any human or Valthani agent. It identified patterns in the infiltration that biological minds had missed, tracking down sleeper agents through subtle inconsistencies in their behavior patterns and digital footprints. The ironic thing, Adam explained to Emma during one of their conversations, is that trying to sabotage your AI research actually accelerated it. They taught you exactly what not to do, which made it easier to determine what you should do instead. Thane found himself hunted by an enemy he didn't understand. Every safe house was compromised within hours. Every communication was intercepted and decoded. The humans had somehow turned his own infiltration techniques against him with devastating effectiveness. The final blow came when Alex, the teenage hacker, managed to crack the Valthani quantum communication codes the Empire had been using. The same encryption for centuries, considering it unbreakable. Alex broke it in 3 days using techniques no Valthani engineer had ever considered. The problem with their security, Alex explained to a fascinated audience of government officials and military leaders, is that it's too perfect. They never considered that someone might attack it using deliberately flawed methods. Torres received intercepts of increasingly desperate messages from Valthani agents to their commanders. The infiltrators were requesting immediate extraction or military support. The secret war was becoming very public, and humanity was winning. Emma stood in the United Colonies Command Center, watching displays that showed the capture of infiltrators across human space. In less than 2 weeks, humans had identified and neutralized a threat that had been building for years. The speed of their adaptation had surprised everyone, including themselves. "We're not done yet," Torres warned as he reviewed intelligence reports. The infiltration was just the first phase. Their main fleet is still coming. Emma nodded, but she felt more confident than she had in months. The Valthani had spent years studying humanity's weaknesses, but they had completely misunderstood their greatest strength. When faced with an impossible challenge, humans didn't break. They evolved. The secret war was ending, but Emma suspected the real test was just beginning. The Valthani Empire was about to discover what humans could accomplish when they stopped fighting shadows and started fighting back. The message arrived through channels that officially didn't exist. Thane, cornered in an abandoned warehouse in Detroit, received final orders from Admiral Corvin himself. The infiltration had failed completely, but the Empire had one last card to play. Hidden beneath major cities across Earth were devices that could crack continental plates and trigger massive earthquakes. It was time to remind humanity of their place in the galaxy. Thane activated the first device remotely from his hideout. Deep beneath New Geneva, ancient Valthani technology began charging for the first time in 3 years. The plan was simple. Demonstrate the Empire's power by destroying a major population center, then offer to spare the rest in exchange for immediate surrender. But humanity had evolved beyond the Empire's understanding. The moment the device began charging, seismic monitors around the world detected the artificial energy patterns. Dr. Sarah Chen at the Global Earthquake Research Center had been studying Emma's detection algorithms and immediately recognized the signatures as alien technology. "This isn't a natural seismic event," Chen announced during an emergency conference call with world leaders. "Someone is artificially destabilizing the continental plate beneath Geneva. We have approximately 40 hours before it reaches critical mass." President Santos made a decision that would have seemed impossible a month earlier. Instead of evacuation orders, she issued a call for volunteers. "We're not running from this threat. We're going to stop it." The response was overwhelming. Mining. Engineers from Luna Base took the first available transport to Earth. Deep-sea researchers brought experimental drilling equipment. Military demolition experts offered their services. Even civilian spelunkers and amateur geologists joined the effort. Within 12 hours, the largest underground expedition in human history was assembling in Geneva. Tom Bradley had been working on experimental communication technology at Luna Base when the call came. His faster-than-light communication array was still in prototype stage, but Chin's readings suggested they would need it. If the Valthani had one doomsday device, they probably had others. Bradley's team worked frantically to deploy their communication network before the Geneva mission began. They needed real-time coordination between teams scattered across the planet. The prototype system was untested and potentially dangerous, but it was humanity's only hope of mounting a coordinated response. The first breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Maria Santos, a structural engineer from Barcelona, was studying the energy readings when she realized something crucial about Valthani technology. They're using quantum resonance to destabilize molecular bonds in the bedrock. Santos explained to the assembled team of experts that the resonance frequency is fixed. If we can generate an opposing frequency, we can neutralize the effect. Torres led the descent into the tunnels beneath Geneva. His team included miners, engineers, physicists, and one very determined teenage hacker named Alex who had insisted on coming along. They descended through maintenance tunnels and abandoned subway lines. Following Chen's readings toward the source of the artificial seismic activity, the device they found was beyond anything they had imagined. A crystalline structure the size of a building, pulsing with energy that made the air itself vibrate. It had been growing slowly for 3 years, fed by geothermal energy and carefully hidden from human detection systems. "The good news," Alex announced after scanning the device with Emma's equipment, "is that I can interface with their control systems. The bad news is that trying to shut it down directly will trigger an immediate detonation." Torres studied the readouts while his team set up Santos's resonance equipment. They had one chance to get this right. If they failed, Geneva would become a crater and millions would die. "We're not shutting it down," Torres decided. "We're stealing it." The plan was audacious even by human standards. Instead of destroying the Valthani device, they would reprogram it to serve humanity's purposes. Alex began hacking into alien systems while Santos calibrated resonance generators to flip the device's frequency from destructive to detective. Above ground, Bradley's communication network came online just as similar seismic readings appeared around the globe. Devices were charging beneath London, Tokyo, New York, and Moscow. The Valthani had been planning for this contingency for years. "We need teams at every location simultaneously," Torres reported through Bradley's experimental communicator. "If even one device completes its cycle, the others will trigger automatically." What followed was the most coordinated operation in human history. Mining teams descended beneath major cities while physicists transmitted Santos's resonance frequency calculations across the globe. Military units provided security while civilian volunteers carried equipment through tunnels that hadn't seen human presence in decades. The breakthrough came when Alex successfully interfaced with the Geneva devices. Control systems. Instead of a weapon designed to crack continental plates, he reprogrammed it to become the most powerful electromagnetic pulse generator ever created. When activated, it would reveal every piece of Valthani technology on Earth simultaneously. "The beautiful thing about their technology," Alex explained as he worked, "is that it's all connected." They never considered that someone might use that connection against them. Santos's resonance generators had an unexpected effect on the alien crystalline structure. Instead of simply neutralizing its destructive potential, the opposing frequencies caused it to resonate with other Valthani devices worldwide. The doomsday weapons became a detection network that humanity could control. Torres made the call that ended the secret war. "Activate all devices simultaneously. Let's light up every alien infiltrator on the planet." The electromagnetic pulse that erupted from beneath Geneva was visible from orbit. Similar pulses erupted from beneath every major city as humanity took control of the Valthani's own weapons. The effect was immediate and devastating to any remaining infiltrators. Every biomimetic suit on Earth malfunctioned simultaneously. Every hidden device was revealed. Every sleeper agent was exposed. In a single moment, the secret war became completely transparent. Emma watched from the Mars research station as Earth lit up with electromagnetic activity. The readings showed a planet-wide network of alien technology that had been hidden for years, but now it belonged to humanity. Thane tried to contact his commanders one last time, but the electromagnetic interference made communication impossible. His biomimetic suit had failed, revealing his reptilian features to the human authorities closing in on his position. The secret war was over and the Valthani had lost completely. Torres emerged from the tunnels beneath Geneva to find a world transformed. The electromagnetic pulse had done more than reveal alien infiltrators. It had also triggered every piece of human technology to operate at peak efficiency. Communication networks were stronger, power systems were more stable, and computer systems were running faster than ever before. "We didn't just stop their attack," Bradley reported from Luna Base. "We turned their own weapons into upgrades for our infrastructure." President Santos addressed the world from the United Colonies headquarters. Behind her, displays showed the locations of hundreds of former infiltrators now in human custody. The secret war that had threatened to destroy human civilization had instead revealed their greatest strength. "They taught us to fight shadows," Santos announced. "Now let's see how they handle the light." The Valthani Empire had sent their best infiltrators to weaken humanity before their main fleet arrived. Instead, they had given humans 3 years to prepare for conventional warfare. The secret war was over, but the real battle was about to begin. The basement of the abandoned factory in Detroit had become Thane's prison. Electromagnetic interference from the global pulse made it impossible to contact the Empire, and his biomimetic suit had failed permanently. For the first time in 3 years, he looked like what he truly was, a reptilian alien warrior whose secret war had ended in complete failure. Torres found him there 2 days after the pulse, surrounded by human military personnel and civilian volunteers who had helped track him down. The great infiltrator who had nearly destroyed human civilization now sat chained to a chair, his scaled skin reflecting the harsh industrial lighting. "Your fleet is coming," Thane said as Torres approached. "My failure doesn't change that. The Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds, and yours will be no different." Torres pulled up a chair and sat down across from his former enemy. "Tell me about your empire. How many ships?" What kind of weapons? We've got time to talk, Thane laughed bitterly. You think I'll betray military secrets? I am a warrior of the Valthani Empire. I would rather die than help you prepare for your own conquest. Actually, Torres said calmly, you've already told us everything we need to know. Over the past week, human intelligence teams had been analyzing every piece of Valthani technology they could find. The infiltrators had left behind a treasure trove of information about their civilization, their military tactics, and their technological capabilities. More importantly, they had revealed the Empire's greatest weakness. Arrogance. Emma arrived at the facility carrying a datapad filled with technical specifications reverse-engineered from alien equipment. The Valthani had been so confident in their superiority that they hadn't bothered to secure their technology against analysis by primitive species. Your quantum engines are impressive, Emma told Thane as she sat down beside Torres. But they're also completely predictable. Every ship in your fleet uses the same design, the same frequencies, the same vulnerabilities. Thane's expression shifted from defiance to concern. Impossible. Valthani technology is beyond human understanding. Emma smiled and activated her datapad. The screen showed detailed schematics of Valthani ship designs, weapon systems, and communication protocols. Your infiltrators brought examples of everything we needed to study. Thank you for the education. The irony was perfect. By trying to weaken humanity through secret infiltration, the Valthani had given them years to study alien technology and develop countermeasures. Every sabotage attempt had revealed new information about their methods and capabilities. President Santos chose that moment to make the call that would define humanity's response to the coming invasion. Through Bradley's faster-than-light communication network, she addressed every human settlement in known space. The Valthani Empire believes they can conquer us because they've conquered everyone else. They're wrong. They've never faced an enemy like humanity before. The message wasn't just for human colonies. Using captured Valthani communication equipment, human hackers like Alex had tapped into the Empire's own networks. Santos's declaration was being broadcast to Admiral Corvin's fleet as they approached the solar system. We reject your offer of surrender, Santos continued, looking directly into cameras that she knew were transmitting to the enemy fleet. We reject your claim of superiority. We reject everything about your empire except the opportunity to prove that even conquerors can be conquered. Corvin received the transmission aboard his flagship, a massive vessel that had destroyed the defenses of dozens of worlds. For the first time in his career, he felt something he didn't recognize: uncertainty. The human response was unlike anything in Valthani military doctrine. They should be begging for mercy, Corvin told his bridge crew as Earth's defiant message played on their screens. Instead, they're challenging us to a fight. Back on Earth, Torres was showing Thane the preparations humanity had made during the 3 years of secret war. Orbital defense platforms had been upgraded with reverse-engineered Valthani technology. Earth's early warning systems now used quantum sensors that could detect approaching ships from light years away. Most importantly, humanity had developed weapons specifically designed to exploit Valthani weaknesses. Your shields operate on a rotating frequency pattern, Torres explained as technical readouts filled the screens around them. It's elegant and efficient against conventional weapons. But we've built weapons that adapt faster than your shields can rotate. Thane stared at the displays in growing horror. Everything he saw represented technology that humans shouldn't have been able to develop for decades. The secret war had accelerated their development by generations. How is this possible? Thane demanded. 3 years ago, you were barely capable of interplanetary travel? Emma leaned forward with a smile that was both friendly and terrifying. You taught us. Every piece of sabotage, every infiltration technique, every example of your technology. We learned from all of it. The final revelation came when Alex arrived at the facility carrying a device that made Thane's biomimetic suit look primitive. Human engineers had not only reverse-engineered Valthani technology, they had improved it beyond the Empire's capabilities. This is a quantum communication disruptor, Alex explained proudly. When your fleet arrives, they won't be able to coordinate their attacks. Each ship will have to fight alone against our entire defense network. Torres stood up and walked to the window overlooking the Detroit skyline. In the distance, construction crews were installing the last of the planetary defense systems. Orbital elevators carried weapons and supplies to defensive platforms that hadn't existed a month ago. The thing is, Thane, Torres said without turning around, you were right about one thing. The Empire has conquered 1,000 worlds. But those worlds all made the same mistake. Thane looked up with confusion. What mistake? They followed the rules of civilized warfare, Torres replied. They fought like they were supposed to fight, we don't. Emma pulled up a final display showing the current status of human space. Every colony was armed and connected through Bradley's communication network. Civilian ships had been converted to mobile weapons platforms. Even mining operations in the asteroid belt had been transformed into military installations. Your Empire expects us to field a traditional fleet against your traditional fleet, Emma explained. Instead, you're going to face something that doesn't exist in your military textbooks, an entire civilization that treats war like a puzzle to be solved. The Valthani fleet dropped out of faster-than-light travel at the edge of the solar system, exactly when their infiltrators had predicted. Admiral Corvin's sensors immediately detected the massive defensive preparations humanity had made. Orbital platforms surrounded every inhabited world, and energy readings suggested weapon systems far beyond what primitive humans should possess. This is Admiral Corvin of the Valthani Empire, he broadcast on all frequencies. Humans of Earth, you have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance will result in the complete sterilization of your species. The response came not from government officials or military commanders, but from ordinary humans across the galaxy. Farmers on agricultural worlds, miners in the asteroid belt, students on research stations, all broadcasting the same message, come and take it. Corvin had conquered civilizations that possessed advanced technology and powerful militaries. He had never faced an enemy where every individual considered themselves a soldier in the war effort. Human resistance wasn't centralized in military units that could be destroyed. It was distributed across every settlement, every ship, every person in their space. The first attack came from an unexpected direction. Human ships emerged from the asteroid belt moving at impossible speeds, powered by modified Valthani engines that had been pushed beyond their design limits. They didn't try to engage the fleet directly. Instead, they deployed Alex's quantum communication disruptors and disappeared back into the asteroid field. Suddenly, Corvin's perfectly coordinated fleet became a collection of isolated ships that couldn't communicate with each other. Each captain had to make independent decisions without knowing what the rest of the fleet was doing. For an empire built on absolute coordination, it was chaos. Emma watched the battle unfold from her command post on Mars. Human tactics made no sense according to traditional military doctrine. Small ships attacked massive battleships with weapons that shouldn't have been able to penetrate their shields. Civilian freighters rammed military vessels in suicide attacks that somehow succeeded. Mining platforms fired improvised weapons across impossible distances. They're fighting like every engagement is personal, Emma observed as she tracked the battle. Like each human ship represents the entire species. Thane watched the same displays from his prison cell, his expression shifting from confidence to disbelief to horror. The Valthani fleet was being systematically destroyed by an enemy that refused to follow any logical pattern of warfare. This is impossible, Thane whispered as another Imperial battleship exploded on the screens. You're primitives. You shouldn't be able to fight like this. Torres turned from the displays with a grin that showed all his teeth. That's exactly why we're winning. The turning point came when Adam, the artificial intelligence that had been born from Valthani sabotage, took direct control of Earth's entire defense network. The AI coordinated attacks across light years of space with precision that no biological mind could match. Every human weapon fired at the exact moment for maximum effect. Admiral Corvin found himself commanding a fleet that was being outmaneuvered by an enemy that shouldn't exist. His ships were designed to fight other military vessels in formal engagements. They weren't equipped to handle swarms of improvised weapons guided by an intelligence that could predict their every move. The final blow came when President Santos made one last broadcast to the surviving Valthani ships. She wasn't offering terms of surrender or demanding their retreat. She was issuing an invitation. Any Valthani crew that wants to survive this engagement can surrender to the nearest human vessel. We'll treat you according to the same standards we use for human prisoners of war. Your choice. It was an offer no conquered species had ever made to the Empire. Dozens of Valthani ships surrendered rather than face destruction. Their crews found themselves treated with a respect that their own empire had never shown to defeated enemies. Corvin's flagship was the last ship standing when Alex's voice came through his communication systems. The human teenager had somehow hacked into Valthani military networks from across the solar system. Admiral Corvin, this is Alex Chun of the Human Defense Network. Your fleet is destroyed, your communication is compromised, and your invasion has failed. But here's the thing we learned from studying your infiltrators. The Valthani Empire only respects strength. So we're going to show you what human strength really looks like. What followed was not the destruction of Corvin's flagship, but something far more devastating to the Empire's future. Human ships surrounded the massive vessel and began demonstrating technologies that surpassed anything the Valthani had developed. Weapons that could penetrate any shield, engines that operated beyond known physics, and artificial intelligence that could outthink any biological mind. Torres stood in his command center, watching as the Secret War's final lesson played out. Across the galaxy, the Valthani had taught humanity to fight shadows and win. Now, they were learning what happened when those shadows stepped into the light. Thane slumped in his chair as the last reports came in. The mighty fleet that was supposed to conquer humanity had been destroyed by the very species they had tried to weaken. The Secret War had backfired so completely that it had transformed humanity from a primitive species into something the Empire couldn't understand or defeat. We were supposed to be your guides, Thane said quietly. We were going to teach you how to become a proper civilization. Emma looked at him with something approaching pity. You did teach us. Just not what you intended. The war was over, but humanity's real journey was just beginning. They had proven that even the most powerful empire could be defeated by a species that refused to accept limitations. The Secret War had ended with the Empire's total defeat, but it had also announced humanity's arrival as a galactic power unlike anything the universe had seen before. Torres walked to the window one last time, looking out at a sky filled with the lights of alien ships flying under human command. The Secret War had been fought to prevent humanity from reaching the stars. Instead, it had given them the entire galaxy.